Hi, I'm Matt with eTrailer, and today we're talking about the Yakima SightLine FX bars on top of our 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now this can be a great option for you if you're looking for something that's going to give you more of a clean design up on top of your roof so you can haul those longer accessories that can't fit in the back of your vehicle. And if you don't want this on all the time, you can remove this really easy. So let's check it out. And what I mean about this being more of a clean look, we just look at it right now, we don't really have anything sticking out off the side, and that's going to be because of the design of this. This is a flush rail system. So what that means is with a lot of crossbars, you'll have some overhang on the side of it, and with this not having any, that's what provides this more factory look we have today. Now that can be a pro and a con. The pro is if you have anything like roof boxes, you're going to be able to put that extra storage on top of your roof. Now anything like kayaks or skis, that's going to be a little bit harder to put up here because you're going to be limited on space, and a lot of time with that overhang, you can either tie off to that, or with skis, it's a lot easier to reach and take your skis off. This rack's going to be comprised of two parts. The first part is going to be the crossbars and the towers that are mounted to them. The second part is going to be the fit kit that attaches your system to your roof. So taking a closer look at the roof rack itself, or the crossbars, we're going to have this channel at the top of it that runs all the way through, and you're going to be able to use that for T-track accessories like those roof boxes. What's nice about that is if you're not a big fan of any clamp-on accessories, or if you're limited on clearance underneath here, you can just put your items into this track instead. That track's also going to have this built-in weather strip, and I'm a fan of the built-in weather strip because the ones that don't have the one that is built in, you have to cut it down the size to accommodate whatever gear you have. This, you don't have to cut anything down. And that weather strip's going to keep a lot of wind and debris from getting in there. So it's going to help it from getting all clogged up, and you don't have to deal with that wind noise. Another thing that's going to reduce wind noise too is going to be the shape of the bar. So it's thicker in the front and thinner in the back. So that's going to allow air to flow over this a lot better, and it's going to also help reduce that wind noise. On the back of them, we're going to have those towers. And if you remove that cap, you'll be able to see all the hardware that's underneath here. And if you remove that cap, we'll be able to see all the hardware that's underneath here. And that's going to be the system that helps hold this into place. That's one of the nice things about this cap is you don't have to look at any of that. And it still provides that clean look. And underneath that tower is where we're going to have our fit kit attached to. And the fit kit really just grabs onto your vehicle's factory rails, and it's going to have this rubber section in front of it. That rubber section is going to allow it to sit more flush, give you more of a clean look, and it won't scratch anything up. And they're going to have specific points where they attach to, so this is going to be a fixed mounting system. So what that exactly means is, if you notice, right underneath here, we're going to have two bolts that go through and grab your fit kit to your rails. You're going to have some other sections you can attach that to on top of your roof, but that's going to depend on what your needs are, whether if you have maybe a longer box on top of here, you're probably going to want a larger spread, or if you have some smaller baskets, then you're going to probably want the shorter spread. What that spread is going to be exactly is if I measure from the front of my front crossbar and the front of my rear crossbar, that's going to sit at 23.5 inches. So if you need something larger than that and you attach to these second points back here, that's going to be more around the ranges of about 34-inch crossbar spread. A few other measurements I'd like to get is going to be the overall height it's going to add. So the tallest point are going to be these towers. So if I measure from our rails to the top of the tower, that's going to be about 4 inches, which is honestly pretty low profile. What I still recommend doing is taking the total height of your vehicle plus your crossbar height, and if you have any other gear on top of that, account for that as well, so you know what areas you can make it under. And the next measurement I want to get is going to be the distance underneath their rails. So if I go from the center to underneath their rails, that's going to be a little bit over 3 inches. So that might not sound like a whole lot of room, but honestly, most clamp-on accessories are going to be able to accommodate that distance. Now, if you have anything really bulky, that might be a close fit. Like I said earlier, one of the main advantages to this system is in those cases where you want to take off some of that extra height because you're not using this for the time being, you're going to have the ability to do that. So we just want to make sure when you do that, just unlock it, pull this arm down, or this door down, make sure you've done it on the other side, and all I have to do at this point is just lift up. And there you go, it's going to save you a lot of space. And just the fit kit itself is only going to stick up a little bit over 1.5 inches, which is really nice. It's going to have that factory look to it, especially when we put this cap on top of it. And that's also going to provide a little bit more protection for this fit kit so nothing can really get in there and gunk it up. But when you are ready to put your crossback back into place, all you have to do is take that cap on, slide it back on, and close the doors. This is also going to have a weight capacity of up to 165 pounds. Now, what I do recommend doing is that is a little bit of weight, and you got to consider your roof as well. So what I recommend doing is just checking what your roof is rated for, and then going from the lowest rated component. But overall, I'm a real big fan of this system because it is really simple to put together. A lot of roof rack systems are going to be 3 parts, while this is only 2 parts. And it already has that factory look to it. Now, if you're looking for something else that is going to have a little bit of overhang, we have plenty of other Yakima, Rhino-Rack, or even Inno options. As far as the installation, it's pretty straightforward too. Sometimes I've had a few issues with getting those bolts into the rails, but if you're curious about what that looks like, just stay tuned and we'll walk you through the process. To begin the installation, I'm going to lay everything out. So closest to me, we're going to have the crossbar itself, and in front of that, we're going to have the fit kit. Right next to that, we're going to have the rubber pads that go underneath it, and the hardware closest to you. You're going to have a couple included tools. We're going to have the security Allen key, and next to that, we're going to have this Allen key with a built-in torque device. I do recommend grabbing a few tools. I recommend grabbing a trim tool, and if you don't have one, you can use a flathead screwdriver, or you can find one of these on our website. I recommend grabbing something pretty small, either if you have a really tiny Allen key or something. I'll show you exactly what we're going to use this for later. This is just something that I find is a lot easier to use though. And grabbing a tape measure so you can measure everything out. I already have the front crossbar installed, but it's going to be the same process for both of them. The only difference is going to be the size of your crossbars. So what I have on here right now is the small crossbar. What I have on the table in front of you, that's going to go on the rear side, is going to be your extra small crossbar. We're going to start by assembling our fit kit. So there's a few things you should know when you're putting this together. There is a left and a right side. To let you know how it should look, the left side, which is going to be your driver's side, should have this open or larger channel facing forward. And the Yakima should be facing out. As the right side should be facing out too for the Yakima, and that channel facing forward as well. But to get this ready, we're going to grab that rubber piece, and we're going to need to match these 4 nibs with those 4 holes underneath here. So I'm just going to line everything up and push it into place. Can be a little bit tricky to get everything lined up. I like to make sure I'm applying even pressure throughout this, because if you put weird pressure on one of them and they bend in too far, then getting this in can be really tricky because these nibs are a little flimsy. When everything's actually started and it's starting to seat in there, it's not exactly flush yet. And this is pretty common. You'll probably have to deal with this too. As you can see, when I push on it, it just springs back up. And you should get a little bit of that, but the amount I'm getting right now means it's not flush. And what's happening is these nibs on the side aren't going in all the way. It can be a little bit hard to see, but I found a solution for working with these. I've put these on a few times, and that's where that small tool is going to come into hand. What I like to do is push that in to that nib. It'll have an opening behind it, and apply pressure. It'll seat in there a lot better. Once you have this all the way on, just make sure you do that for the other side too. Before we can put our fit kit up here, we need to do some prepping. And to do that, we need to remove these fasteners. So that's where that trim tool is going to come in hand, or that flathead screwdriver, whatever you have on hand. And it's really a simple process, just making sure you get the tool underneath it, kind of click out of place, and it'll just pop out like so. With those out of the way, I'm going to grab that fit kit. And like I said earlier, we want to make sure that this larger channel is facing forward. We want to just line everything up. And the goal here is to line up these openings or these holes with the holes or points where you're going to screw in your bolts on your rails. I'm going to grab one of those bolts now with the washer. I like to start here on this lower hole, just pushing it through and lining it up. Once everything's lined up, I can kind of hear it seat into place a bit. I'm going to start screwing it on. You might have to push or pull this a little bit just to make sure everything's straight, because if it's at an angle, it's not going to screw in correctly. It's going to be the same thing on this other hole. This time we're using that larger channel, and what I'm doing is just pushing down, applying pressure, and sliding it into place until I feel it fall. Once it's fallen and lined up, then I can start hand tightening this. Once both bolts are holding this into place, you're going to grab that security Allen key and tighten it down the rest of the way. You just repeat that on the other side too, and make sure you remove this cap. Once we remove that cap, we can start getting our crossbar prepped up. We're going to start by removing these end caps. Make sure you do that on both sides. And we're going to grab this Allen key. And we're going to stick it through this hole and loosen this up some. What this is going to do is loosen up this tower. It's going to give you the ability to accommodate either wider roofs or more narrow roofs. But make sure you do that on both sides. We need to open up this door now, and to do that, I need to grab either my trim tool or my flathead screwdriver. Honestly, the flathead's going to be easier for this. We're just going to turn this until this is pointing up now. That's going to be in the unlocked position. And now you can open up this door. When you open up that door, if you look underneath, that's going to retract these two tabs. And when you push it in all the way, that's going to push those tabs out. That's how that's going to lock into place on your fit kit. And you'll notice this bolt we have at the top. What I want to do is just make sure this is tightened, to make sure it didn't get loosened up in shipment. If that clicks, you know it's tightened all the way. And what that bolt does is adjust your pitch. Now we don't have to adjust our pitch any for this fit we have today, but if you're watching this for a different vehicle or if the instructions change in any way, then you'll have to loosen that up and just angle your tower to fit what's ever going to be the best fit for your roof. But we don't have to worry about that, and we can actually start putting this on top. Before we put this up here, we'll make sure it's in the right orientation. So we're going to have this thicker side. We want to make sure that's facing forward, and this thinner side that has the Yakima logo on it is facing behind us. Once we've done that, both doors are opened, everything's tightened, and areas are loosened. We can step up here and put it on top of our fit kit. It's not a bad idea for this stage to lock the other side into place so it won't move or come out. And then we can make our adjustments from over here. Because as you can see, it's not going to reach, but since the towers themselves are loose, they're going to be able to slide over here and line up. And at this stage, I'm going to lock this door down too, just by pushing on it. And now I need to adjust the crossbar itself, so to make sure it's centered on our roof. The way you can do that is just by really just pushing or pulling on the crossbar and then getting our measurements. So you're just going to get your tape measure, measure from the center, and make sure both sides are even. When everything's even or close to being even, we can grab our Allen key again and tighten that bolt up that's in this hole. And what this is going to do is retighten those towers so they're not sliding around. When you hear that click, you know you're on the right path. Just make sure you do that on the other side too. And the final steps is just going to be locking everything into place. Just making sure I turn that core so it's facing parallel with our rails, and putting on this end cap. After you have the end cap on, I'm just going to give it a shake test. Make sure everything feels good. And if it does, you can load it up with whatever gear you have and go take it on the road. That was just a look at the installation and some of the features of the Yakima SightLine FX bars on our 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Thanks for watching.